So the first one, talking about when BIM goes wrong and why we need compliance. Let's take a look.
Why is that?
So compliance, as a general topic, just to introduce first of all, especially because we've got lots of BIM resources, many standards around the world, they are thankfully consolidating. And really with those, we're able to define rules and use those standards to follow. Mm-hmm. And as long as everyone's following those rules, we are compliant, are we not?
Yeah. Sure are.
But we've seen lots of other industries with some major challenges, and one of them, the accounting space, has gone through that. Lots of regulation, lots of rules in place, because it's incredibly important to get that right so that everyone's following the same rules and so everyone's following the same standards.
There's many examples, like in sports, we have referees and rules that we have to follow, and we have referees who help us stay on track. And without those, things can be chaotic.
Yeah.
So
maybe we need BIM referees.
Yeah.
Yeah. What might happen if we don't follow those rules?
It's a good question.
Especially in accounting.
What would happen? Oh.
Sometimes these sorts of things occur, and whilst it can be looked back on as potentially a not funny, because it was pretty severe. It was the largest bankruptcy in the US at that point in time, and some malpractice, some bad things going on there. And that actually caused a lot of new rules to be put in place, and a lot of new regulations to be put in place.
Lessons learned.
Absolutely. But how does that relate to BIM? How does having standards and following standards relate to BIM?
Well, in BIM, we have quantities and estimates and money involved as well, and guesstimates.
So one of the BIM uses that it's actually rising right up to the top, right alongside coordination.
Right.
And having a fully coordinated model in order to take quantities from, it's an incredibly important BIM use and incredibly important to get right. So if we have a model that is given to us and we know that there are some open or in progress items and maybe it's not complete yet, we would really want to wait until it was complete. So if I go backwards and forwards on this slide here, you can see that there is a difference,
pretty big difference,
the amount of elements, etc. I actually suffered this in real life on a BIM project. We were the VDC managers, and unfortunately, a model had been used that was not complete. And the end result was that the quantities were obviously lower, and the price, the budget that was put for that project originally, was way lower than it should have been. And that caused some severe impact. So for us, that specific nature of the model and having compliance to make sure that it was complete was really, really important and continues to be. The other part to that is being able to measure, and not every measurement is taken in the same way. So rules of measurement, again, related, we were talking about accounting practices, how you measure profitability, for example, how you measure what you put on the balance sheet, where it goes. Here in our industry, how do you measure a window? Is it inside of an opening? Is it the outside? Is it the center line? It's really important to agree on those rules.
Great.
Yeah.
We're done.
So we have a scope. We've got a few rules.
Yeah, we've got some
That's
rules in place.
Success, yeah?
Yeah.
Easy.
Sounds good. Let's go. Let's start a project.
But what happens between starting and success?
Yeah.
And here is example. So Jessica goes to school on her first day, and we can see that there's a lot that goes on between her first day and successful graduation. We know that that's not a straight line. We know that there's a lot that goes on between. But from a school and from an education perspective, how do we monitor and control that?
Report cards, right? So every year we get a report card. However, we don't just wait every year to get a report card. We have progress reports as well, which keep us in line in between. So I have children, and every month I get a report card, and it helps us to focus on what we need to discuss or just kind of go over and over, whether it's reading or math.
Absolutely. A little shout out to my 3 little monkeys. Excellent report cards. And that's how we know whether we're going to give them a reward, or we might not give them a reward.
Take away an Xbox.
Come on, mine want Xboxes at the moment. They think that that's standard. Everyone has an Xbox. That's what they say.
How else are they going to get internet?
So how does this relate to BIM? It's a good question. Let's bring it back to BIM. Right? So we look at projects as they progress over time, and it would be a perfect world if projects progressed gradually, and we went through stages and those milestones were achieved and everything was perfect. But we know that in our world, work begins, people mess around.
Yeah,
there's a bit of a panic, and
Usually,
a lot of work is done at the end, just before the deadline.
Yeah, it's just natural.
Human nature.
Yeah, human nature.
Sometimes
someone gives you a deadline, and it might be a month away, and hey, I've got time. And then little time flies. We always say that every day, and then all of a sudden, 2 days before, we're crunching or crying
where's the deliverable?
that our deadline is due. So
unfortunately, what happens? Voila! Everybody's deliverable gets handed in, and we put it into the machine, the grinder, to give us a report on how many thousands of clashes we have.
Sometimes that's one person. Sometimes if you're lucky, there's a team that's consuming those models so that they can review them. But unfortunately, it's not always like that. It's always one person having just with this bottleneck.
And that's if you get the models at that deadline. So I think we've all been there. There's lots of different situations where sometimes you will have a model early, you'll have models late, you'll have models incomplete, even though they're delivered. And it's a challenge. It's a real, real challenge. And sometimes
then
the train comes off the track.
Project derails. Your estimates are off. Your coordination is off.
We're tying into children's toys as well. This is great.
Whether you were expecting your BIM for AR or VR, something's out of line because we didn't meet those expectations.
So that's really talking about the importance of getting it right. And we talked a couple of different instances there about what happens when BIM goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And understanding that compliance is really key. But what is compliance? How do you define something that somebody understands?
What is an A?
Yeah.
How do you get graded an A?
Exactly.